I have images in my mind. Images of a place where it is green and wet and life. A river originating in a karst spring meandering through the marsh. These images, are they a dream or are they real? Right now, I can't really tell. The name of the river, and that I know for sure, is Bosna. And the name of the city, which will shortly appear to the left of its course, corresponds more or less to the word palace in the Turkish language. I let myself drift into the city. Sarajevo. Right now I am in the ancient part of the town, Stari Grad, or, to be more precise, the century-old market of Bastion, that encompasses the watering fountain of Sebil. In ancient times, the water was a welcome refreshment for travelers. Nowadays, the refreshments come from out of town. This is life in a world which seems familiar on first sight, but then turns out to be completely different from what we know. One thing seems to exist in abundance here for sure. Breathtaking views and insights. No matter where you are, new perspectives open up just by turning around. So there I am, looking from the balcony of a cafe on the 10th floor of a high-rise building, with an almost magic ease towards the cemetery beside the Churchicha Jamia Mosque. In the Svercina Kucha, which means House of Sverzo, the living culture of a Muslim family in the 18th century has been kept alive. It's quiet here, on top of the hill. Downhill we go, back to the hustle and bustle of modern times. There is so much more to discover. Things like the Markale market on the main exit road of the historic city center. Here, everyone sure finds their favorite fruit and vegetable. Or some sort of abstract flowers. Like the Sarajevske Ruže, the roses of Sarajevo. They are meant as a reminder of the civilian dead by shell impacts during the 4-year siege of Sarajevo. Twice the Markale market was hit. Over 100 people lost their lives, hundreds were injured. They had planned to buy some vegetables. For 4 years, the city suffered under the war, with an average of about 300 shell impacts per day, so they say. The traces still are visible today. Here, for example, about 10 kilometers away in the outskirts. From 1992 to 96, this place was considered the absolute zone of death. Sarajevo was completely surrounded by Serbian army groups. Nobody was free to move here, constantly running the risk of being killed. Still, this very spot offered a unique chance to the besieged people as a way to secretly make contact with the free world outside. The take-off and landing strip of the neighboring international airport was the only bit in the circle of the siege that was not under attack. So the plan emerged to secretly dig a connecting tunnel underneath the landing strip, starting from here. The remains of the former exit can be visited today. 20 meters of the tunnel were reconstructed and can be visited. The tunnel had a length of about 800 meters, with a height of about 1.70 meters. Depending on the groundwater level, the passage took between 30 minutes and 2 hours. If I went through the tunnel completely, I would come out in this brightly colored house back there, just beside the friendly potato farmer. Also right beside the airport is the housing complex Dobrinja. This looks like any other similar type of housing complex. Maybe a bit beat down, but still pretty normal. Doesn't it? There seems to be something in the air. Dobrinja was directly in the field of fire of the besiegers. After the ceasefire, the complex was basically uninhabitable. Every rock had to be turned over in the search for mines and live ammunition. Sometimes, for the ones surviving, it seemingly was enough to roughly cover over the damage. Life needed to go on somehow. Let's leave Dobrinja and Sarajevo for a moment and simply take one big step covering several hundred kilometers to the north, to the bridge across the Save River, in the vicinity of the city of Birchka. Here, right in the middle of the river, runs the border between Bosnia-Herzegovina and Croatia. During the Bosnian War, this area included a highly embattled corridor linking the western and the eastern part of the Republic of Srpska. Serbian soldiers displaced or killed many of the Croatian and Bosnian inhabitants in the area. The bridge, which was of tactical importance as a link to Croatia, was destroyed. Back in Sarajevo, another breathtaking view, this time from the hill Trebević. Wide open and very exposed lies the city in front of the viewer. In a war, you only need a few soldiers with a steady eye on the cannons to start a blazing fire. For instance, in this big triangular building down there. Thousands of books in the state library there will feed it for days, and desperate citizens will try to catch single pieces of paper whirling through the hot air, risking their own lives. Only a few steps away, somewhat lost in the woods, we find the seemingly grotesque concrete ruins of a former sports facility. It's the Olympic bobsleigh and luge track of the 1984 Games. During the war, the Trebević mountain was occupied by Serbian artillery emplacements. Basically, the entire side of the hill was mined. A bit further to the west, on the foot of the mountain, we find the Jewish cemetery of Sarajevo. With its headstones, this cemetery offered excellent cover for snipers, shooting at everything that moved over one of the squares down there. And when today the cameraman is searching for a good shot to frame, he probably doesn't move much differently and doesn't think much differently than those snipers back then. And also the people below are not suspecting either that they are closely observed. In the upper left, a streetcar will shortly come into view. Let me hop on, I want to leave. I'll stay with the Line 3 on its final round through the city. It runs the roughly 10 kilometers to Ildica, close to the Bosna river source, and from there back to the old market, Bastion. A few high-rise residential blocks catch my eye while I simply look out of the window to watch the bustle on the streets. Again, I can see the high-rise buildings, but something about them seems to be different. From this side you can see that their outside walls were facing the front line on the Trebebuc hill. Bastion terminal stop. From here it's only a few minutes walk to reach the sky. Or better, the Shooter Tabia, the Yellow Bastion. A lookout with an almost magic atmosphere. Sarajevo, the palace, is illuminated by the setting sun. People from all over the world share their impressions, live and very vividly. I would very much like to say and write something beautiful in the face of such gorgeousness. The rough elegance of the city, the turmoils of history, the everyday life, the friendly citizens of Sarajevo and the happy tourists. So much which reverberates inside of me, an ambiguous, hesitant resonance, a shouting and urge for a peaceful future. But the feeling that lingers in the memory of these images, which apparently are not a dream but reality, has a lot to do with suffering and destruction and a lack of understanding. Why do people attack each other in the first place? Why do people want to become soldiers, going to war with their eyes wide open? Nobody likes to die, and I'm sure nobody likes to kill. Soldiers neither. But what is the reason for all this? What makes people do it nevertheless? Sarajevo, you really got to me. I can understand that people fall in love with you. You are a crazily vivid hive full of grace and vibrance. And right in the middle of it, war.